recently came across a post on Instagram, and an influencer was saying why we should not be teaching young kids how to read, and talking about how it was developmentally inappropriate for kids to learn how to read before a certain age. Now, this post was really interesting to me because this influencer was sharing a blanket statement that she was saying applied to all kids when it comes to learning how to read. And what really bothered me about this statement is that it doesn't take into consideration our kids who are gifted. So in today's video, I wanted to chat a little bit more about giftedness, what it is, and why we need to think about our gifted kids when it comes to learning how to read. In case you're new here, my name is Erin. I'm from littleslovelearning.com. I'm a former classroom teacher, and now I call myself a parent reading coach. My job is to help parents teach their kids to read correctly and effectively based on the science of reading. I support parents who want to teach their kids to read, and most of those parents want to teach their kids to read young, sometimes before kindergarten or sometimes in kindergarten. They want to make sure that they're supporting their child at home so their child is confident and has the skills to learn how to read. So when I saw this post, which I disagree with, the first thing I thought of was what happens when these gifted kids, their parents see this post and the post says, you don't teach your child to read young. So those parents are thinking, all right, I'm not going to teach my child to read young because this influencer told me that's absolutely not appropriate and I don't want to damage my child. Parents are just trying to do their best. Well, those gifted kids who are ready to learn how to read are going to be held back. It's going to be detrimental for them because gifted kids have brains that are neurodivergent, and their brains work very, very quickly. They process information so quickly, and they are able to pick up patterns, which all reading is learning patterns, and they can pick up patterns so quickly. So if you have a child who you suspect could be gifted, and maybe that is something they are identified with once they go to school and they are tested for giftedness, but let's say they're in preschool, they're 3 or 4, and you have not been testing them yet. So you don't know if they're actually gifted, but you have a sense that they are. And you think, I want to teach my child to read, but then you see this post and you're like, I don't know what to do. Should I teach my child? Should I not teach my child? Here's what I think. Number 1, research on learning how to read talks about averages. There are always averages in research. We're talking about the majority of kids learning at a certain age or at a certain speed. If you are the parent of a gifted child, you know that they're not average. They are going to be processing that information so much faster and they are going to be ready earlier, potentially. So if you feel like your child is ready earlier, I really want you to sit with that and think, is it going to be beneficial for my child if I hold them back and wait to teach them how to read? Or is it going to be more beneficial if I start teaching them now? That is a personal choice. I can't make that choice for you. I can just tell you what I did with my own kids, but that is your personal choice. So I have 2 kids that are both identified as gifted. And my oldest was able to basically teach herself to read once I unlocked the letters and sounds for her, because she can put patterns together very quickly and she started recognizing patterns in words. So without explicit instruction, she was able to teach herself how to read. Now, of course, when she went to school, she learned all the phonics rules and she started getting the explicit instruction. But before she went to school, she was able to put that together for herself. Because it didn't take her very many repetitions to learn how to read, she was ready to move on more quickly. She didn't need as much practice with VC words and CBC words and basic words. She was ready for more complex words sooner because that's the way her brain works. And that's okay. Every child is different, and that's what worked for her. Now, my son, he also learned how to read very early, but I explicitly taught him because as a reading teacher, and I had been trained in the science of reading by the time he came along, I knew the steps to put in place to teach him, and I didn't know how long it was going to take. Every child is so different. I didn't know if he would eventually be identified as gifted. I didn't know if he was going to struggle. My own husband, who is also gifted, has a learning disability, so we call that twice exceptional, and he struggled how to read. So we didn't know, would our kids struggle learning how to read? So I was watching my son, I was teaching him, and he picked it up very quickly from the time we started until the time he was able to read his first decodable book. He picked it up quickly because that's the way his brain works. He's able to process information very quickly as well, has a strong memory, a strong working memory, and he was able to put all the pieces together. The reason that I share these stories with you of my own kids and my own opinion is that had I seen a post like that when my kids were young, and had I thought to myself, gosh, I am not going to teach them how to read because I don't want to damage them. I don't want them to hate reading. I don't want to do the wrong thing. I would have been holding them back. I would have been slowing down their growth, their brain development, their progress, their ability to teach themselves and to read books and pull information out of books in order to learn new facts. I would have been holding them back. What a disservice to my kids. My daughter, she tells us facts all the time from books that she reads. She loves reading chemistry books. She loves reading about science. And she will come to me and tell me these science facts. I don't know them. I'm like, oh, that's so interesting. Science was not my interest when I was in school. And so that is her interest. And how lucky for her that she has strong reading skills, strong memory skills, that she is able to read that information and learn these new facts without having to rely on me. That's what I love about unlocking the world of literacy for our kids. The same is true for my son. In fact, I shared recently that we were on a trip and he was reading the guidebook for kids about that country that we were in. And he was reading it on his own and he was telling us facts and information from that book about that country. How cool is that? I didn't have to read that book to him. I didn't have to tell him the facts. He learned those on his own. So that's why I just want you to consider when you see any information shared online about kids, especially even from me, I want you to think about your own child and think, does this apply to my child? Does this feel right? I know my child best. If someone is telling me to do something or not do something with my child, I know my child best what feels right for me. So I guess wanted to write a little permission slip. If you are feeling guilty about wanting to teach your child how to read, or you're thinking it's the wrong thing to do, or your child's asking to learn how to read and you're telling them, no, I'm sorry, we can't start yet, it's too early. Just know that you know your child best. If this is something you want to do, if this is something they want to do, you absolutely can do it. You can do it in the right way to make sure that you are following the steps in the science of reading, making sure that what you're doing is backed by science. And I am here to help you do that. I have a freebie for you all about the 5 steps to reading success. So you can click the link down below, enter your information, and that freebie will be sent directly to you. That is going to show you where to start. How do you start teaching your child how to read correctly? If your child is already learning how to read, if they're in kindergarten or first grade, and you're worried that maybe they're not getting all of the steps, download that freebie and see, are you doing all of the things that you should be doing to help support them on their reading journey? And if you're not, if there's some area where maybe they're struggling, you can plug that hole. You can fill in that gap before it gets too late. You want to make sure that you know how reading works, what these steps are of reading, and how you can support your child at home. And if you are the parent of a gifted child, or you suspect your child is gifted and neurodivergent and that they are processing this information super fast, please don't think you have to hold them back. You can absolutely teach them correctly. If they are ready to learn early, great. I am here to support you, and I would love to be a support on this journey for you. If you have questions about this or anything else I share on my channel, please comment down below, or you can find me over on my website, littleslovelearning.com. I'm also super active on social media, so reach out to me on Instagram or Facebook at Littles Love Learning Blog, and I will be sure to get back with you. If you have stories to share with me about your own gifted children learning how to read early, or you suspect that your child is gifted and you're ready to teach them, please reach out. I'd love to give you some advice, give you some direction, let you know what I did with my own kids, and I will tell you, I don't regret it for 1 second. Teaching them to read early was the best parenting decision I've ever made. Both of my kids love to read. So if you are worried that you teach them early and your child won't love to read, my kids would disagree with that. They both love reading. They will sit and read for hours. Yes, including my 5-year-old. His stamina is incredible. And I just want you to know that if your child is ready and they are wanting to learn how to read and you are wanting to teach them, that there are resources for you. I am one of those resources and I am happy to help. Until the next video, have a great day. Happy learning. Bye.